Today we're going to be creating our Van Gogh inspired pumpkins. So the first thing we're going to do is actually look at a real pumpkin and drawings of pumpkins. So what we'll notice is that they're not just a plain circle, that a real pumpkin has these sections here. They're little segments that are separated. You can see where it goes in and it comes out. So when we're drawing our pumpkins today, we're going to make sure that we're really showing those different parts of our pumpkin. So the first thing we're going to do after we write our name and class code on the back is draw an oval in the middle of our paper. If you look at this picture here, this pumpkin has a nice round oval. So that's what we're going to try to draw first. I'm going to go maybe a third of the way down, and I'm just going to very lightly and very carefully go ahead and draw in an oval. Okay, now that my oval is on my paper, it's pretty centered, I'm going to draw the next section of my pumpkin. I'm going to start here at the top of my oval, and I'm going to draw a curved line that looks like a backwards C, and it's going to come down and touch the bottom of my pumpkin here, just like these ones will touch down here. So here I go. I'm going to draw my C, nice and round, and curve it up so it touches right here. Now I'm going to do the same step on the other side, except this time it really does look like the letter C. And down towards the bottom, I'm going to try to curve it and touch it here. Notice how the bottom of my pumpkin are all lined up. So I'm trying to draw them the same distance down. Now I'm ready to try my next segment, and it's the last one we're going to draw. So I'm going to start same thing in the middle of this part here, and I'm going to draw, this one's going to be a little skinnier than the others, I think. And this one's going to actually come up. It should come up a little bit higher to show that it's farther away than the other pieces. So it just came up a tiny bit. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start at the center top and bring it around and come up a little bit higher. Now our next step is to add a stem. You can draw your stem however you want. I'm just going to show us a simple way to do it. So at my second part here, so this is our center segment, at the next one over, I'm just going to start drawing a straight line up. You can maybe just draw a straight line across. Maybe yours wants to slant a little. I'm just going to go ahead and draw a little stem. However you want. You can draw whatever makes you happy right here. So now I have a little stem at the top. Now we're going to draw one more piece. It's going to show the back parts of our pumpkin. So we're going to pretend that we can see a little bit past the front. So I'm going to draw from the last segment right here, just a little curved line right here and on the other side too. I took a minute and made sure I made any changes that I wanted to my pumpkin, and now I'm going to be adding the horizon line, which means that's where the ground meets the sky. I'm going to put it a little bit lower on our paper so that I have room for our beautiful starry night that's going to go in the background. So I'm just going to go a little bit farther down on my pumpkin. It has to be higher than the bottom of your pumpkin though, so I might go right here and just draw, pretend that it goes behind your pumpkin, and draw the same line on the other side. Vincent van Gogh loved to use color and lines and texture in his artwork, so we are going to try to do the same thing with ours. So next step is going to be adding our moon and stars and all those really fun swirls and texture in the background. So the first thing we want to do is decide where we're going to draw our moon and stars. I'm going to draw my stars as just simple little circles, and we can use our oil pastels to really make them glow and shine later. Now we're going to be adding our swirls in here. So the first thing we're going to do with pencil is just kind of map out where we want them to be, and then later we'll be able to use the oil pastels to make a lot of swirls. So I might just decide where I want some swirls to go. Maybe I'm going to have one right here. Maybe this one can loop in from up top. Maybe I'm going to even have one coming from out behind the pumpkin. Over here. And then I'm going to work from there. So the next step is to take our oil pastels and create those glowing moon and stars. So I'm going to find a yellow and a white, and I'm going to use them to color in the entire moon and star. You need to color these fully so the watercolor paint doesn't get on top of your moon or your stars. Now that I have that colored in, I'm going to use the same yellow oil pastel and recreate some of these lines that go around the moon and the stars. It almost looks like a little mirror line. It just mirrors whatever we drew here. And it's going to make the moon look like it's glowing. I'm going to do the same thing around my stars. I'm just going to make extra circles and curved lines. Now I can use my white and also add extra lines of white. It might be hard to see on our paper right now, but when we add blue watercolor on top, all of these yellow and white lines should show up nicely. All right, now I'm ready to move on with my swirls. I'm going to choose some really fun colors to make the nighttime sky. I'm going to choose this blue, maybe a turquoise blue, and I might even throw in a little bit of purple along with my white. So I'm going to use these colors and start creating my swirl. So I might start up here with this large one. I'm going to start with a nice dark blue. I'm going to trace my line that I drew, my swirl. Now, Vincent van Gogh always has tons of lines and paint all in the background, so I'm not going to leave it as one swirl. I might take another color and make another swirl inside. I might switch over to my purple. I'm going to go behind my star right there, though. Be careful not to draw on top of your pumpkin. We're going to paint this later. Now I can even use white to fill in some of these spaces in between, just a couple white lines here and there. And I'm going to continue making swirls until I filled up my entire background with lines. Now that my background is done, I'm going to work on the grass for my pumpkin. So I'm going to trace my horizon line to make sure there's a big difference between the sky and the ground. And then here, I'm going to create some kind of pattern or texture in the grass. You can make up a design that you're going to repeat, or you could even add real grass-like texture that might look like this. You might add some lines that look like grass in there, and you could use different colors. I'm going to show you how to maybe do a pattern, but you can decide whatever you want to do. Now that we have our oil pastel laid down nice and dark, we're going to fill in the top with blue watercolor and the bottom with green watercolor. We have two brushes today. We have a large brush that we're going to be very careful with to fill in the large areas, and we also have a small brush that we can use to get really close to our pumpkin and down here by the horizon line. So I think I'm going to start off by carefully dipping my big brush into the blue watercolor. Now be careful, this brush soaks up a lot of paint, so it might drip on your paper. So you need to be very careful that you don't get it on the pumpkin or somewhere you don't want it. So I'm just gonna put blue watercolor, very careful not to drip, and spread it out. I'm gonna go around my moon. I might use my little brush to get real close to it. To clean my brush, I'm going to swipe, wipe. Our next and final step is to paint our pumpkin just like Vincent van Gogh. We're going to focus on leaving our brush strokes and letting the colors just mix right on our paper. So the first thing we're going to do is take a little bit of orange from our palette, and we're going to trace all of our sections that go around the pumpkin. So all the lines that we drew, we're going to trace it in orange. Remember, when you're painting and you want a thin line, it's easiest to paint on your tippy toes of your paintbrush to help keep a nice thin line. Our next step is to add some yellow to create some value in the middle of our pumpkin. We want to work while the orange is still wet. So to show some of our brush strokes, we're not going to even clean our brush. We're just going to dip right into the yellow and let that orange mix right into that. And I'm just going to go back and forth, leaving some of my brush strokes, and I'm going to go carefully to the edge of the orange and just mix back and forth. You don't want a solid orange color. We want to leave our brush strokes so it should look really fun and colorful, and we should be able to see all of your little strokes. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to move on to my next section. The final step is to add a little brown to our stem. You might just want to find a clean spot to kind of wipe some of that color off, but I'm not going to clean my brush. I'm just going to come straight in with some brown. I'm going to be careful to go around my little curves and fill in the whole stem.